Okay, the last video on corporate sponsorship in the modern world. That wasn't actually true. I'm not sponsored by Wish, although they do make exceptionally good t-shirts at a very reasonable price. And sadly, I'm not sponsored by Taifu Quick Tea. Delicious, but they know where I am. Okay, back to All Matters Guitar. Don't know if this is in a lot of people's favourite, just bang my guitar again on the wall, need to move slightly. A lot of people's favourite top 5 UFO songs, but it's definitely mine. This is a song called Lonely Heart, and I always think of this as the Neil Carter song, which is why I thought we'll use a bit of echo on it for the keyboard parts. But you could be forgiven for thinking this is somewhat like Bruce Springsteen's She's On, okay? This is the intro. Right, so let's put a bit of echo in that, try and make it just a little bit more ethereal. Right, song starts proper and the band play a huge A chord. Right, at this point Neil plays a sax solo, very short, and he plays an E note. I'm going to try and play both. They play a G, right, so when the band play an A, Neil plays a fifth, the E note, on the sax. When they go down a tone to the G, on the sax he goes up to the F sharp, then back to the E, right? And the song starts proper, so this is the start of Lonely Heart, first verse. This is a rhythm. Second time shape. Right? So you get A and G, and then it goes from an A to an E. So it's like, this is you better turn out the light. But I would play it there, with a suspended chord over the E. Right? And then it goes into, you know, which you imagine is fairly standard, predictable even, C sharp B A. But the next time it goes, so the stress changes. So this is the La 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 Lonely Heart, and the vocals do this. That's a harmony. Down to an E chord, second verse. Let's turn out the light. And then Paul Chapman plays his solo. Right, at this point the band's going to F sharp. So allow Paul to. Second half of this, they go to F sharp minor again. And Paul goes. Right? And you can see what I'm doing there. I'm bending the B up to C sharp, sort of, but we'll get back to this. And the top note is a. So we're going, that's the melody that we're playing. but we're playing that F sharp with our right hands using a tap, right? You know all this stuff, yeah? Now the thing is, Paul doesn't play that like, he kind of, you know, juices it out a bit, so it's like, you know, it's just a little bit flat, it's in that indiscriminate pitch. It sounds great. Now, if we wanted to tap the F sharp note, it's here. But if this string has been pushed up, that would sound sharp. So we've got to fret a lower note to therefore pitch the F sharp note, right? You with me? So let's bend the B to C sharp and tap the E, which is now F sharp. Yeah? Thing is, he doesn't push it that far. Now you hear the low tone is moving up and down like that. So the tap is on the E note, but it will sound F sharp. Now I find what you have to do in this is not bend the low note to C sharp like this, but when you tap it, push it higher. Get that? Right? And what that means is we're basically moving the pitch with our left hand. I'm making this sound incredibly complicated for a solo that lasts about 20 seconds, but it's a great solo. Right? So, this is how I think he frets it and phrases it. Like that, right? The other thing is, you know, 1981 tapping was still relatively new. It was still, you know, you'd see him on Top of the Pops going, what's he doing? And he comes out of it and just plays a conventional. And then they want to come out of it. Now at this point, Paul plays this. Right? Now you can play that in double stops how you want. You could fret it like that, you know, with all four fingers, or you could just go B to C sharp. So we get, and there's an A chord with the third, C sharp played on the bottom. Same in G, a big E, and then we're back to, and Neil plays his solo. So I'm going to play Neil's solo in the next verse, in the next video rather. It's a sax solo, obviously. It's not a guitar solo, but you know, if you were playing it live with a band, you didn't have a sax player, you certainly could play it on guitar, and I think it sounded pretty good. Okay, so I'll be back with that one.